to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence. Thank you.
Alderman Wadawa.
Here.
Alderwoman Calderon.
Here.
Alderman Brickner.
Here.
Alderman Fire.
Here.
Alderman Damon.
Here.
Alderwoman Fliss.
Here.
Meeting has been properly posted and noticed.
Telephonic meeting, none. Public hearing. Change of zoning, Hidden Pond condominiums, plat notice of public hearing. Oh, is there anything on our side?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The matter, notice of public hearing has been posted or published for the change of zoning for Hidden Ponds condominium plat. Published as a Class 2 notice for this evening. With the council's permission, we will forego the reading of the legal descriptions that go along with it. I would note for the council that there are 2 parcels that are listed. For the Planning Commission's recommendation for rezoning, however, only deals with the condominium plat parcel. There's a separate parcel that was originally zoned as far as the for construction of a duplex. That zoning has also expired, but that wasn't part of the Planning Commission's recommendation. So the focus this evening should be with respect to the condominium plat and the proposed rezoning to PUD residential planned unit development, that is under Chapter 455, Article 4 of the City of St. Francis Code of Ordinances. And with that, I would recommend that you open the public hearing for comment, Mr. Mayor.
Public hearing
Paul,
is
excuse me, if we could have, for the people that don't understand all the legalese, what's it going from and what's it going to for the change of zoning?
Sure. The originally the property was zoned as a planned unit development for purposes of development of the condominium that currently exists today. The original zoning ordinance, however, did have a sunset provision in it, which has since expired and therefore precludes further development of the property under the original zoning. So to avoid any questions as far as the ability to continue development of the original condominium development, and I think council and representative of the developer are here this evening to explain, but you'll see up front that essentially the current proposal is going to be to complete a modified version of the originally proposed development on that property.
That's good.
Okay, thank you. And so I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you want to start off the public hearing with
Absolutely.
allowing the developer to make their presentation as far as their proposal, I think that would provide focus for comments from the public.
any comments after?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Please.
I'm Nancy Haggerty. I'm a real estate attorney for the developer, and I'm here just to, I know the members of the council have already heard me before at prior meetings, but I just want to explain generally what the application is for here. We also have Bob Malloy here. Bob runs a lot of the operations of the condo association, making sure that business happens and things like that. And as in prior meetings in the past, he's been very helpful when people have had questions that needs to know something about what he's done himself. So we are let me just give you an overview. Now that Melinda has that one over there, I think I'll try to turn this just slightly because the site plan might be the easiest place to start. And I guess I'm gonna be in your way, so maybe I should hold this side.
Do you have a microphone for her?
Mr. Microphone.
I'm used to talking that way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. We're not doing karaoke tonight. So the important thing to understand, I think, is that way back when this development started, not the very throat of the driveway, which is the other parcel of land that you talked about, but all of this triangle of land was made into a condominium called Hidden Ponds Condominium. And when you make a condominium, you set out the footprint of where the units are going to be, and then everything else that's inside of here becomes a common area. So because some of these units, the white units, were already built, many of them were sold off to other people, those people are not affected by what we're doing. Their units stay exactly where they were, and they have exactly the same rights they had before. The gap in the tooth, if you want to call it that, is there are 2 4-unit buildings here that weren't built. There's a row here that wasn't built, and here and here. And so what we've done is come back to the city to propose having a development agreement in place and getting permission from the city in order to finish out the construction. Now, because it's a condominium, we have to keep the buildings in exactly the same footprint that they were in before. But the city has requested that we take these 2 rows of condominium units and cut in half the number of units. So these would be built as 4-unit buildings, just like the existing building, and pardon my terrible art, but these are pictures of the existing buildings, both from the side and from the front with the garage facing. And you can certainly come up here afterwards if you want to look at that. And then what the city has required is that these buildings along the lots that face Denton Avenue, if that gives you some perspective, that these would be made into, instead of 4-unit buildings, 2 on top and 2 downstairs, it would just be 2 units in each building side by side. And because they're 2-unit buildings side by side, what happens with these buildings is, in order to keep the roof line look like it's all one cohesive unit, there's going to be a 2nd story up here, and we have some other drawings here that show floor plans, but each condominium unit would then have 3-car garages. There'll be an office and a bedroom on the 1st floor, and then there's going to be another bedroom and open space upstairs. So we can show you the site plans if you want to look specifically at that. But the city felt that by changing the mix of units so that some are the 4-unit buildings and some are the 2-unit buildings, that we'd be able to attract more and different kinds of people and potentially sell faster because of the fact that there would be a variety of units available. So we have been negotiating with the city attorney, the city engineer, and the city administrator on a development agreement that we hope to have ready and finished for the next meeting. And at the next meeting, then, we're asking the city council to vote on rezoning this property back into PUD so that these units can be built in that same layout as exists right now. And obviously, the roads are already in, the drainage ponds are already in, the utilities are already in, so none of that's going to change. It will just be filling out the remaining buildings in that shape. We could talk for hours, but I think that's mostly what people are looking for. So the zoning is what allows us to recommence construction. Do you have any questions that you want to ask, or do you want me to wait until the public asks questions and then respond to them?
I think that'll work. Mr. and Mrs. Scott Bridgewater, can you come up to the microphone and state your names and address, please? Thank you, sir.
Am I speaking?
Yes, you're going to speak, whatever you want to say, but just give us a...
I just came to,
Oh, okay, because you signed up for the public hearing sign-in.
oh, I thought it was just a
No
sign-in
worries.
for- all right.
Nope, you're good. All right, adjourn.
Polite, no, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come up and talk? I know I got a couple of signatures on here, but I'm thinking that you were thinking the same way that gentleman did. Yeah. If you want to speak, come up to the table, please. And then just state your name and your address, please.
Joe Hayes, 2672 Hidden. Does the number of units change from the original plan unit from 2005?
Yes. What's happening is, because the condominium's already in place for the whole unit, what we have to do is use a procedure in the condominium law that will essentially take the upper 2 units that were in this building, each of the buildings, and merge it into the downstairs units. So that there will be, where there were 2 up and 2 down before, there will now just be 2 side by side.
So the original plan unit was how many? Was that 80?
88.
Now you're gonna have
I knew you were going to ask me that, and I wrote it down.
56. So my bank gave me a loan based on a development of 88 units. Doesn't my bank have to then approve this change? Aren't you interfering with that?
Actually, you are, if you own 1 unit now, you own 1/88th of the common elements. And once these get merged, you actually will own what was your math, 56? So you'll actually own more. But thinking about your next question, the condominium declaration is written in a way that each unit, after it gets its occupancy permit, pays a full share of the condominium fees. So you will actually, by adding more units, there'll be more units paying towards the condominium fees.
You're taking away units. You're not adding units. We're going from 80 to 56.
Right.
So so now we only have 56 units paying into the common elements, not 88.
That is true, but the city won't let us develop all 88 units, so that's why we have to do it that way.
I'm still questioning what my bank's gonna say. Based on what they agreed to, based on the information that Bob Malloy gave my bank, based on 88 units. So according to my lawyer, that you know, John Geringer,
Oh.
that's gonna be a problem. John just mentioned, he goes, you can't go from 88 to another number, because then every bank would have to sign off, because they agreed to give a loan based on a PUD of 88. Now you're changing it, so now the banks will say, hey, that's not what we signed up for.
But, and I can be happy to talk to John about it, I know
Okay.
John. But
I'll talk to John and see.
okay, so there is a provision, there's provisions in the condominium law for when you have to get consent of everybody. So if, for example, if we tried to move one of these buildings, we'd have to get the consent of everybody.
Right, I understand that.
And it would never happen because John Worth would never let you do that, so. But there is a provision that allows you to merge units so that if 2 people own adjacent units, they can merge them into one.
Okay, all right, okay. And- Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, that is a technical requirement, but with the city requiring less density, that's the only way that we can accomplish it. Otherwise, we're left with not having any of these units built. And because you own the land under this building and this building and this building, if these aren't built, then you would be sharing your condominium expenses with only the built units.
Nancy, how many units are currently built?
Oh, right here, it's 36.
36, and how many units are currently contributing? 36. So there's
Yeah,
not 88,
every-
so there aren't 88 units that are currently contributing to the condominium common expenses?
Entirely true. We divide up the budget every year based on 88, put it back within 36 for the unit owners. But the developer pays on his 88, on the balance of his 88 units. We put those bills out. So the water, the usage is based on 36, the taxes are based on 88.
Well, actually, each unit gets its own tax bill, and so even the unbuilt units are paying taxes and have been for 10 years. So the taxes are kind of separate from the condo association. But an unbuilt unit isn't using water, and that's why they're not paying. But as soon as the occupancy permit is granted, then they pay the full boat. And we have agreed in the draft of the development agreement that we'll put something in the condominium documents that absolutely confirms that as soon as an occupancy permit is given and that the unit is built, it will pay its full percentage share. We'll create a math nightmare for Bob, but, so then everybody will pay.
Oh, you have to have people come up.
They will be, because they're condominium units, they are available for sale to anyone, anyone who's going to pay the purchase price. It's likely that, they're going to have to hopscotch in building them. They'll dig the dig the concrete for that, and then they'll probably dig the concrete for that, and no one's gonna wanna live in between. So they are for sale. Your condominium declaration already has a provision in it that says that rentals can only be for long-term rents and some other limitations like that in it.
When is this gonna start, if everything gets approved by the city?
Well, it depends on when everything gets approved by the city. We are hoping that the development agreement and the final PUD approval, and we have to go through aesthetic board, would be done later in October. And then he'd have to, once he knows that he can build, then he'd have to get plans and specs pulled, and the expectation is that it would start in spring. And the city's controlling how many 4 units can be built versus 2 units, so that will kind of dictate the schedule.
As far as the developer's agreement, there is some language that I was told about referencing the pond and the fence and the repairs to the existing property. The pond is what concerns me most because it's improperly installed. We have a lot of problems with it. When the city asks for it to be repaired, is the word fix, or is it gonna be replaced and brought up to standard of what the city expects? Or how is that being worded and addressed that we can be assured in 7 years down the road, when everything's all said and done, that the wall's not gonna start crumbling down again?
Well, we have a company that is going to be, for lack of a better term, bird watching to make sure that what is they're paying for is done and is complete the way it should be. That pond was never put in there properly. And it's, the city takes partial fault in that because it was never properly inspected when it was getting built. Otherwise, it wouldn't be collapsing into the pond.
So I'm hearing from you that you are going to bring it up to code.
Yes.
And who's gonna pay for that?
Well, it's gonna have to come out. I'm thinking that part of the deal was that in the developer's agreement, that it is paid for with the new development, because the people that have owned them buildings for the past 18 years have been taking it in the shorts.
Yes, that's why I asked the question.
I've,
Who's gonna pay for that?
I've lived on Denton Avenue for 26 years. I was there, I was there with the beginning of the development, yes.
After you're done?
Yes, I do. I've been unhappy with this development since day one. They don't do anything they say they're gonna do, so we have to force them to do what they're gonna say they're gonna do. I've had nothing but bad luck talking to Bob. He doesn't do what he says he's gonna do either. They said that the roads, they said that the roads were complete, so we didn't have to worry about that. Those roads aren't finished. All the base coats have already got patches in them.
Well, I know,
To say that that's finished is an understatement.
I noticed the city came out and marked up all of the sidewalk, or
The curbs.
cement work. So again, that's gonna be repaired and replaced. Again, not on the backs of the current owners, I would assume, yes?
That is my point. That's part of the developer's agreement.
I noticed miraculously that after years of asking, the fence has been repaired. I can only imagine that I did pay for that. Mr. Malloy, did we pay for that fence repair, or did somebody else do that?
Which fence repair we talking about?
The one that happened 2 weeks ago. You had a man out there repairing the fence. Mr. Brickner called me and said, hey, we want that fence repaired, we're gonna have the pond fixed, and lo and behold, a miracle happens and someone's out repairing my fence.
Can I just ask, Mr. Bricker, you have my number, why are you?
Because I like him, he likes me.
When I walk my dog, I happen to see him there. You don't live there, so I don't see you. And I have your number. I have your number. I personally have a personal issue with you because I haven't been told the truth in all instances.
Don?
Sir, when you
getting off
remove 8 pallets of supplies and then tell me that you had them removed, but they weren't yours. I mean, I guess if I was an attorney, I wouldn't admit that I was storing my property on somebody else's property for 18 years either. I have issues with you, sir. That's why I don't speak with you, because it's never positive. Because when the only thing that comes to your mind is son of a bitch, that's not time to speak. And that's what comes to mind every time I speak to you, because I'm not being told the full truth.
Okay, Don, gentlemen, we're getting off subject. No.
And
I
I'm not
gotta
saying,
step in.
I'm not saying that I'm against the development, because I'm not. We have to get this development made and done. But we also have to make sure that it's complete. The developer isn't even here. Gary isn't even here. He didn't show up. Now, I understand that his representatives are here. But you would think that if this guy wants to get a development done that's been stalled for 18 years, he would be front and center. But he's not.
Comments on the zoning?
We're done. That's off subject.
Yep.
I'll simply say, as an owner of 2 units, I fully support the development for the reasons Mr. Brickner has stated.
Understood.
We want to move forward. And it's good for the city, I think it's good for us too.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for the public hearing? State your name and address then, please.
Joe, excuse me, Joe Romano, 2708 Hidden Drive. I've been an owner for the last 2 years. The current unit that I'm in belonged to my parents before me. So since 2008, since they started, they've been waiting for this day to come to see this completed. They have both passed on now, and they don't have to worry about this anymore. But just from that standpoint of, they moved in with the expectations of having that fully developed back, when they still enjoyed it. So at this point, I just want to say, as an owner, I fully support the moving forward of the development. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing?
Robert Sliger, 2604 Hidden Drive. I was the very first occupant of Hidden Ponds, and we're still there, my wife and I. We've been there from day one. We saw it when it was brand new, and we see it when it's decaying. And I've talked with Bob many times, and we've had some good meetings and that. And Gary's been MIA since he was sued by some of the tenants. I was a part of that lawsuit. I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, and then I thought we could've went a different route. And then ever since then, it's bitter. And I'd like to see this get developed as a landowner, or as a condo owner, and as my alderman, that I see quite often when we talk, and we walk, and, so we've got Don's ear, and, I've seen you, sir. But I'd like to see this go forward in a positive but a protective way too. And for the landowners or the condo owners, and for the developers, and for the city and the people paying taxes for what we're getting, so all that. But I'd like to see it go positive, forward, but protected. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing?
Robert Lutz, 2620 Hidden Drive. My question is, who proposed this development? Did the city require this, or was it the owner?
For the new development you're talking about? Correct?
Yeah.
That was the developer.
Developer came forward to the city.
Who's asking for the rezoning, the owner or the city?
The owner. The owner,
The owner's asking for it?
correct.
But then what I'm asking is, if the original 88 units was in the works, why isn't it being completed?
Surely. So the original 88 units, as part of it was back under a ordinance that was adopted in 2004, 4. That was the original zoning for the property. From time to time, the state law requires that the city update what's referred to as its comprehensive plan. And so periodically, the city has done so. And as part of that, since the most recent iteration of the city's comprehensive plan calls for a lower density, that's meaning less development of that area than was originally put forth in, when the development was originally proposed and approved by the city. And so the city has to, in dealing with its zoning, has to comply with its own comprehensive plan. And so in looking at the current proposal, the city has worked with the developer to come up with something that coincides with the call for lesser density, and also provides a transition, if you will, from the single-family residence to the four-family residence, or four-unit properties on the backside of the property. So the two-unit properties are looked at as providing that transition zone, if you will, from the single-family to the four families, as well as complying with our current comprehensive plan requirements.
Well, we, apparently the homeowners association took the owner to court, and the court came up with the conclusion that those little round pipes that are sticking up out of the ground are considered units, okay? That should be being what do I want to say? Dues, monthly dues, okay? We were told at the time that this lawsuit went through and was finished and everything else, that they were going to complete the project, okay? Then a couple months later, or a year later, they weren't done. Nothing was done. And now they're coming back again with saying that they're going to complete this project. To be perfectly honest with you, I don't believe a thing that the owner is saying. All right, just as simple as that. Me, myself, I've been there, I don't know, about 9 years or so. I want to see the project that was originally put on paper and approved, that it's done now the way it was then. I have no idea why the owner wants to change the project from the original project. I don't understand. If somebody would explain that to me.
I will. We addressed this at a council meeting a long time ago. If you come to St. Francis as a family and you're looking for a place to live, you can find 2 bedrooms all over this city. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Where do you find a 3-bedroom? Very, very limited. Where do you find a 4-bedroom? Almost non-existent. If you want to grow this family community, you need a place where you can have families. We asked for some of those developments to allow for family growth, to allow for housing that's beyond the 2-bedroom homes that St. Francis is traditionally known for. Now, what I'm seeing tonight, and I just want to compliment all of you, I'm seeing a lot of passion from Don, from the neighbors, from the people that live there. For you, take that as a compliment. They want you to finish this project, but you've got some mending to do. There's some hurt relationships here that have to be repaired that have been damaged over 18 years. This is your opportunity to fix that. They need to be heard. We need a complementary quality project in the end that meets everybody's needs. But you have an opportunity here. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. They have passion to finish this project, but prior experience tells them we have to have concern about how this project's going to move forward. So you're going to have some relationships to mend along the way for this to happen.
Well, I don't think this meeting is meant to be a zoning thing, but in my estimation, okay, we as homeowners there, in condominiums there, nothing that we asked to do or has been done, period. You can talk to the owner, the owner's representatives, nothing is done. I mean, the property, as far as I'm concerned, is not well taken care of. The lawn is cut, the snow is done, okay? But that's it. Nothing else is done. You got dead trees, all of that. If that's what the city of St. Francis wants, is a sore spot in the middle of the St. Francis, that's fine. They want more homeowners in St. Francis. My opinion is this: I paid my taxes this year, I paid $4,200. Now, if there's a 4-family unit there, there's 4 units in this building paying roughly, let's say, $3,000. That's $12,000 a unit, okay? That's what we're paying. Plus, we're paying $200, $226 a month for condo fees. What are we getting for it?
No, I understand.
We're getting danced around, okay, hang on a second. We're getting danced around that they want to start a new project and change the whole thing. Now, is he saving money by changing the project, the rezoning of it? Well, there's got to be a reason why it's being rezoned.
So it's
My
in your.
point is this, is that the city of St. Francis wants the project done the way it was originally done, force the owner to do it
Just
the
to,
way it was done originally.
just to clarify,
Not to change the thing in midstream and bust my buns for it, because I chose to live there.
Hey, Paul.
just to,
And I like living in St. Francis, but I'm not gonna live in St. Francis if St. Francis is gonna dance me around.
So can I answer, Paul?
sure.
Our goal is for this project to be completed. When you have homeowners owning the rest of these properties and the property owner no longer has a controlling share, the homeowners group is gonna have control of that area then. Then you're gonna have the ability to do the things on a regular basis with maintenance. You're not gonna be held hostage to somebody else who owns the majority. It gives you the control when that's done and the homeowners group holds the majority of the property and holds the strings on how things get done. You will have that control when this is done.
I don't believe you.
It's part
Paul,
of your
can you go over
homeowners
one more time with
But
That's
you
the,
fine.
took it to court with the
Our-
idea
our
that the
point of this-
homeowner's gonna have something to say about it. We have nothing to say about it. Nothing. We don't have nothing to say about it.
Go ahead, Mark.
I think there's some confusion in the rezoning process. So what we currently have is a development that has lost its zoning. So if the property, and what you have tonight is a public hearing to rezone the property. And so the city is not going to, the city council is not going to approve a rezoning for this site until we also have a development agreement. So the city is working on a development agreement to protect the current property owners and the city residents to ensure that the development gets done. There are advantages, I think, to both the condominium association and to the rest of the city. I think Alderman Fire has indicated that, and Attorney Alexi has indicated that it fits our comprehensive plan. We're looking for more family 2-unit than 4-unit buildings. There's a transition from 4 units to 2 units to single family, which I think in the original design, there wasn't that buffer between zoning. So Denton Avenue are all single family residential units. So you'll go to 2 family units across the street, and then you'll go to 4 family units. And that's how it'll transition across. One of the big advantages I think that the condominium association will see is there'll be less trips per day in and out of your development when it's fully completed, because you're gonna have fewer units. The average residential unit creates 8 trips per day on average, so you will see 240, 250 less trips per car trips per day in and out of your development. your hidden drive is not built to city street standards, it's a private drive. So I think that'll be a big benefit to a lot of the property owners in that development, and that they'll see a lot fewer cars driving up and down through Hidden Drive with this development than the higher density development that you would have had the other way. But I think the biggest issue is the development agreement is going to ensure that the developer is going to do what they're proposing, and that's going to protect both the condominium owners as well as the residents of the city of St. Francis.
Right, if I may, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, I think there's some concern with respect to the rezoning aspect. And again, I can't emphasize enough that the reason that we're dealing with the zoning is that because the 2004 zoning that was put in place is no longer effective. Under its terms, it expired, and absent action by the council with regard to rezoning this property, or you could think of it in terms of resurrecting the zoning of the property would be another way of considering it. But unless the council acts to approve the zoning of this property, there can't be any further development of it. And so it's the rezoning of the property is not antagonistic towards the existing condominium unit owners. Rather, it's something that has to be done in order to be able to do any further development of the property.
Well, I don't agree with you, but whatever.
No, I can show you, I'd be happy to show you the original zoning ordinance.
Because what's gonna happen, okay, in my humble opinion, I'm 81 years old, I've been around a while. You're gonna put 4 family units in there, you know what you're gonna have? You're gonna have people moving in and out. You're gonna have more traffic in there than we have now. We don't, that gentleman there said something like 285 trips per day. We don't have no traffic going through there hardly at all. None. That's just some factual thing that he brought up from I don't know where. We don't have that kind of traffic through there. We'll have that kind of traffic through there if we get 4 condominiums. Wait a minute. With 4 family units in there, you're gonna have more cars. You're gonna have more people there. You're not gonna change my mind about that. Simple as that.
The trips per day is the difference between 88 units versus 56 units. So you'll see 250 less trips per day in and out of your development with a 56-unit development versus an 88-unit development when it's completed.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing? Yep. Can you come?
Fire?
Made a very good statement that the developer needs to act in good faith and to work, because there's been a lot of damage here. Bob Malloy is the self-described project manager. I heard that in one of the previous meetings for this project. As Mr. Brickner knows, Bob Malloy is not responsive. Not to me, not as an owner. 1 email out of 25 will get a response. That's okay, that's who Mr. Malloy is. As the project manager for this development, it's gonna be 1 out of 50 he'll respond to. I don't see us building a better relationship. Now, the developer owns those properties, he owns the voting rights to those properties. I don't suggest that change during this development. But as an act of good faith, I suggest the developer turn over the HOA to the current ownership. Still retain your voting rights, still maintain the ability to control the HOA, that we can't, hey, all get together and say, you know what, now those 40 units get developed, we're gonna double the fees. No, let's be adults about this and say, we as the current owners will agree to continue status quo. But we take over our bank account, we take over our HOA, we greet the new owners that purchase these condos. We introduce them to the neighborhood. We take care of our leaves. We take care of our dead trees and all of our lawn work. And we work with the developer because we are the HOA now.
Right.
You maintain your votes, give us our HOA back before you break ground. I think that's an act of good faith. It's a win-win. We get the bank accounts, we vote our own board in, we vote our own president in, we vote our own treasurer in, and then we invite new neighbors as they come in, and everybody's happy, and then in the end, we all part friends. Just a suggestion. I don't know if you can put that in the developer's agreement, but we'll throw that out there. I know it'll go nowhere, but we're gonna say it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing?
I got one more thing to say. I got a question for you. I noticed that the other day there was some people out there painting pink lines on the curbs, okay? And I asked them what they were doing, and they said they were repairing the curbing. And I said, well, who's involved in that? And they said the city of St. Francis and the developer.
Melinda?
That was me and my project engineer. We were out there doing an inspection of the curb and gutter and the pavement to incorporate the required improvements to the street in the developer's agreement. So we marked out what needs to be repaired and replaced before the city would sign off.
Who's got to repair that?
The developer, whatever's worked out in the developer's agreement. But it's not a special assessment. It's not something that the city's coming in to well, it's what gets worked out with the developer's agreement. The presumption is the developer.
So if we wait for the developer to do it, maybe 2023 is gonna be taken care of.
Well, I think the developer's agreement, as other developers' agreements have timelines in them that they have to adhere to. And so, and then there's provisions if that doesn't happen, that's written into the developer's agreements. So we have some more confidence that things will get done.
That we're aware of what's the timeline.
I don't remember what the current version of the developer's agreement has in it.
The developer's agreement isn't completed yet. There is provision in there with respect to the initial pavement being replaced and then the final lift being placed on the road after completion of the condominium units. But we're still working on dates because that's currently in flux.
And the curb and gutter would have to be done before the replacement of the base course.
To be honest, sir, the pain you've experienced and described here tonight has changed a lot of what we do with development in this city. Specifically what Don mentioned, there's a company that monitors the development from start to finish. If you tell us you're putting in this quality of window and you try to put in a lower grade, they're gonna catch it and it's gonna be fixed. This company's on top of it. We learned our lessons from the past. And our developments aren't like they were in 2008.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing? By law, I got to say that 3 times. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone else that would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mr. Mayor, I would respectfully recommend that since the council is not acting on the zoning this evening, that you consider a motion to adjourn the public hearing
got you.
until our October 19th meeting.
Mayor, I motion to adjourn the hearing until the October 19th meeting.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just a question about that. I recognize that we're not on the city council meeting for approval until the 18th, but why adjourn the public hearing as opposed to taking it and then going on to the decision? Does that mean that there'll be another public hearing with people making comments again?
It would allow the opportunity for that. We would just reopen or not reopen, but we would just continue the public hearing at the next meeting and allow for any further comments. And if there are none, then it will be closed right away.
And I'll tell you, Nancy, that this is my last common council meeting when I discuss the misfortunes of the development, because I truly want to get it done. So there's a time to have the discussion as to what the developer does and doesn't do, and then there's a time to have a discussion as to what we're going to do in the future to have it complete. And from my aspect, I know I've been pretty hard because I've been dealt with that way for 18 years. But I'm telling you that there will be this will be my last negative meeting, so that we can get this accomplished.
I humbly believe if we do this right, it's gonna be a win-win for everyone. We have to be a watchdog because of the past. That's just something that you're gonna have to accept. Yeah. The city needs it done, the owners need it done, the owner of the property needs it done. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on. Presentation, none. Citizen comments. Was there any, Melinda?
No.
Nope. Consent agenda. Is there any older person that would like anything removed?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Recommendation of action from committees, commissions, and boards. Action to be taken from the licensing committee meeting held October 5th, 2021.
Mayor, from this evening's licensing committee, we're looking for a new beverage operator's license for Donna R. Rodriguez.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
We're also looking for a temporary Class B retailer's license for the City of St. Francis Celebrations Committee, 4230 South Kirkwood Avenue for the Food Truck Frenzy on 10/13 of '21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's all from licensing, Mayor.
Thank you. Resolutions and ordinances, none. Discussion items with possible action. The 2022 Environmental Health Consortium Memo of Understanding.
Jackie isn't here tonight, but it's just an extension. We had a 3-year contract with South Milwaukee for health administration. The city of Milwaukee added 1 employee, and we're contracting with them for our health administration. So it's an extension. It's another, under the same terms, it basically just renews the contract for another 3-year period. They do get to increase the monthly, they charge us a monthly fee for that service, and they do get a chance to increase it, I believe, 5% per year over the next 3-year period. But it still is significantly less than what it cost us in-house to provide health administration.
I'll move to accept and approve the memorandum of understanding.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Petition for special privilege permit, Newell Operation Company, 4051 South Iowa, Rambo Special, privilege permit 9-29-2021.
Melinda?
I originally put this on the common council agenda. Since it was placed on the agenda, there's been conversation between City Administrator Johnsrud, City Attorney Alexi, and myself, and I put it on in error. So there would be no action necessary. We can cover the additional well under our regular street opening, excavate in the right-of-way permit.
And this is where Shoreline was, correct?
This is over by Shoreline.
Okay.
It's another well under the same project that they're continuing on with.
So as a result, it constitutes an existing use which falls under the purview of, under our code for the city engineer to approve the permit application without needing council action on it.
So what does this company do, Melinda, do you know?
Packaging.
They're still testing for groundwater contamination over by the old Shoreline property and vapor intrusion into, maybe into the manholes that are in the street, the water valve boxes that are in the street. Some people's homes may have vapor intrusion. And so as they test and get results, then they submit it to the DNR, and we've all been down this road on our own properties. Yep. The DNR says, oh, well, we need another one, and then they do the test. Oh, we need another one. So they're caught in the same loop we get caught in, so it's just an extension of the same project. They continue to send us the results as was the original requirement, so, and nothing is changing significantly in any of the results that when I review them, so.
Okay.
And this is a new well that's gonna go in that
An additional well, yes.
city right away there?
It's in the terrace area, just like the
Oh,
other ones.
oh, okay,
It's not in the street, it's just gonna be in the terrace, like a lot of the other ones are.
Any further discussion? Okay, moving on. Appointments to committees, commissions, and boards. None. Correspondence with possible action or referral to committee, commissions, and boards. Letter from the city engineer, Sweetwater Trust contract for public outreach for stormwater permit.
Thank you, Mayor. So part of our permit with the DNR for our stormwater discharges requires us to do outreach, public outreach and information programs. With the limited staff that we have contracted with Sweetwater in the past to perform that outreach, and they do it globally throughout Milwaukee County. And they include St. Francis as part of that. They have done mailings, direct mailings to different parts of the city. They do television advertisements on different platforms. They have a website that people can go to, and they try to advertise that on different platforms, and to try to bring awareness to keeping stormwater clean. The new permit that is issued by the DNR has a higher requirement for more targeted information and education programs. So Sweetwater has pivoted with not just St. Francis, but in many other communities to provide that additional level of service, and that comes with an additional cost. So they have sent over a draft proposal. City attorney has reviewed it. We have some comments to make back to them. We did reach out to other firms that we work with on stormwater-related issues. They do not provide this service, and in fact, they suggested that we go to Sweetwater to retain them for this service. So, and we know that Sweetwater has done an excellent job for us in the past. They provide to us the information we need to complete our report, and the DNR is familiar with their work, and they know Sweetwater is familiar with what the DNR requires, and they can tailor the programs to fit the requirements. So our recommendation is to award the contract contingent upon the city attorneys and my concerns with the agreement getting worked out.
I'll make a motion to place this letter on file and then approve the Sweetwater contract with respect to the attorney's comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Moving on. Unfinished business. None. Other business. Change of zoning for 4005 South Pennsylvania Avenue, referred from September 21st, 2021 council meeting.
So I'll just give an update. Patrick Connerton has provided us with a site plan. He's provided us with a building design for the salt shed, and he has provided us with a fence design to face the existing fence that faces Pennsylvania. So it'll be a facade. He's not going to replace that fence. He's just going to put a new fence or facade over the existing fence to improve the property. So he's met all the terms of the requirements from the last meeting for consideration of the rezoning.
And I just have one question. Is that, you're gonna redo the whole Pennsylvania Avenue side of the fence there, that, on the east side of that property? Or is this just gonna be the fence in front of the area where you're at?
I plan on doing the aesthetic one on my side, but I still plan on painting and fixing the south side fence. Bob's gonna work a deal where I'm gonna fix that south side where it's really going away, and just pretty much trying to lift up the whole property.
Right.
It's just not the north side parcel. It would be I can get ours done right away, but the south side, probably spring best on that side.
Oh, we don't need any action on this.
Direct me to prepare the required ordinance.
Thank you. Paul?
So, Your Honor, this was originally a referral from the Planning Commission, as any other zoning. We've had the public hearing. Planning Commission's recommendation was for denial because, again, originally the site plan called for a use that wasn't permitted under our code. As part of the proposal, the current site plan from, I gleaned from the comments from the city administrator, now has rectified that issue. And so the question for the the recommendation from the planning commission is advisory in nature. The common council has the ability to grant the required zoning, notwithstanding the planning commission's recommendation, or it can accept the recommendation and vote to deny the zoning. If the council's wish is to grant the zoning, then my recommendation would be to instruct staff to prepare the required zoning ordinance for consideration by the council at its next meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I would
The
like
one
to,
that they're
hey,
gonna
Don,
repair. That they're gonna repair and do.
Don, what is your motion for?
Or what Paul had just stated with.
Well, he gave
getting
two
it-
options, approval or denial.
To approve it, I would say.
Your motion's for approval.
Approval.
Okay, I would only ask that we consider in your motion that we add in the 5-year to reevaluate. That was one of the considerations
I
that
would
we
agree.
discussed.
5 years or 3 years? 5 years is a long way down the road.
Something, because he's another, that guy is another poor,
He's not talking about you.
business. That guy's another poor business constituent, so.
Well, and 5 years gives us a chance to revisit with him how that
Correct.
relationship is as well.
And we got a second?
What was the
I
motion?
concur.
Can we clarify the motion?
The motion is to instruct staff to prepare the required ordinance for consideration by the council at its next meeting, that being October 19th.
Okay.
With,
thank you.
with the 5-year.
Inclusion of
Five-year
a
sunset.
5-year sunset provision.
Correct.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Prove us right.
Yeah, thank you.
So far, doing a great job cleaning it up.
Ken?
I think Ken.
Oh, we know that. We know that.
We know.
Thank you for clarifying.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Thank
saying
you.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear good things. You're there bright and early every day.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, department heads. Melinda?
Thank you, Mayor. The project over in the second district is moving along. They're working on still removals of concrete. The sewer contractor should be in later this week to start doing some manhole adjustments and repair. So that project is moving forward. Leaf collection started last week. So we are out, there's small piles right now, but rain knocks a lot of leaves down, so they'll be coming down fast and furious shortly, so we're out and about. And lastly, you may have, well, maybe you could have seen it, if you're here in the daytime, you'll see it better. We have added a new asphalt path on the west side of the driveway for people to walk on, so they won't be walking in the driveway.
Thank you.
It's, we did
Nice.
it with our own crews, just like we built all the trails in the Neosho Trail. It's been St. Francis DPW highway guys that have done all those trails and maintain all those trails, so they have done an excellent job. We laid, excavated, put millings down. We have the binder course of asphalt on it right now. We're gonna ramp both ends of it for the winter, and then we'll put the surface course down in the spring. That gives it time to settle. We will be plowing that one section of the trail because it's kind of like a sidewalk, and we don't want people to walk in the driveway in the winter. So that is the only section of the trail that we are plowing, though, just so everybody's clear. That is the only section that we are going to plow. And then with that, I'm just very, very proud of what the guys did out there. I think they did a really great job. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. I'd like to just jump a little bit more in there. I've gotten over 30 emails and phone calls saying what a great job the DPW is doing on that, so thank you. Chief Popular.
Real brief, busiest fire prevention time of the year Fire Prevention Week started this week, and we carry it out through the month. So we'll be in and out of the schools. The schools will be in and out of our station. We'll have a presence down at the upcoming food truck night for handing out literature and stuff for the children. And the other thing that I have is Captain Peter Trost retires. He next week. His last 24-hour shift is on Thursday the 14th, so he gets off duty at 7 a.m. on the 15th. Sent an email out to, I think, every city staffer, all of our colleagues regarding his send-off. He didn't want anything formal. He'll be there that morning, but over 29 plus years with the City of St. Francis Fire Department, so
It's amazing.
he'll be missed. And with that, I pass.
Thanks, Chief. Chief Hunter?
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to give kudos to Melinda and her crew. That path not only is a safety concern for the city, but it was a high concern for us when this building was originally built, because when we have squad cars coming out in an emergency situation, we had people that were cutting across in front of the squad cars, and when they're coming out of the garage and people are cutting across, you're looking at an accident waiting to happen, and thank God nothing's happened to this point, but this is a true, this should have been done from the get-go, and I just want to give her again, her and her crew, kudos, and they did a great job. It looks professional, it is professional, and it's going to provide safety and security to the citizens. Also, on another note regarding safety and security, as you all know, at 4570 South of Meady, we had a sex offender move in. Per state law, we had to make a public notice, which we had done Thursday, September 30th at 5:30 p.m. We had a public hearing or public conversation notice that took place. I want to thank Melinda for facilitating that with the GoToMeeting app, because we did not have any means to do so. Though we did not have to do that, it was recommended by the state that we do it. We sent over 500 letters out to the public in that area. We had 32 people on the meeting itself, and it did not get out of hand. That being said, we're well aware of who lives there. We're not happy that he lives there. We have no control that he lives there, but we know he lives there, and that's what's important. So knowing that he lives there, knowing that he's monitored, I can guarantee you guys that there's nothing he's going to do that's going to cause you any harm, because we are close. We're aware of what he's doing. That said, we're also receiving phone calls. Somebody delivered a FedEx box to the house today, and today is the day he moved in. That's not illegal. He has a right to live. So we're not going to respond to FedEx boxes being delivered to residents. So, and I don't know if the person just got nervous because there was a box that was delivered to the house, but those type of calls for service we're not going to respond to. But if there are any questions, it's still on the website, but there are people to get into contact with, and that's the state of Wisconsin, Department of Corrections, as well as the probation and parole. So if there's any questions regarding that individual, I'll be more than happy to answer them to the best of my ability at this point. If not, I'll move on. And you guys can always call me if you need to, as you know. So, and again, thank you, Melinda, because without your help, our two gentlemen would not be able to facilitate that meeting. Tomorrow, Captain Blunt and Lieutenant Harkis are assisting our insurance company, Community Insurance Company Corporation, CIC, up in Stevens Point, in the Stevens Point area, where our officer, Alex Conrad, is participating in a law enforcement challenge. CIC, our insurance company, actually provided us with a Mylar machine, which was basically a training machine, which I've spoke to you guys about in the past. It's a very expensive machine. We're going to get that again next year, and I would highly recommend that you all come and attend, maybe take a couple scenarios. I think it would be very eye-opening to you all, as it was to Melinda. I'm sure she can tell you that. So, but if he does win, and there's a good chance that he may, the city will receive $10,000 from CIC, and the officer gets $2,500. Also, as you know, Kia and Hyundais, I've stated this over and over again, have been reported stolen, and there's easy access. 2016 through 2021 are the model years. So we made a call to Hyundai America, and they're providing 100 steering wheel locks, but there's certain criteria that needs to be met. So once we receive the locks, we had to first off apply for the locks. Once we receive the locks from Hyundai, then we'll put out a notice on our website and our Facebook, all our social media, as far as how to go about getting that if you own a Hyundai or Kia between 2016 and 2021. So there are obligations from you that have to be met, such as proof of ownership, the year of the vehicle, etc., that we can send back to Hyundai, and they can then mark down in their book that they received the quick fix for the Hyundai vehicle problem. I think that's their way of getting off easy, if you ask me. And then lastly, just an update on our vehicle. We did sell our 2016 tan Charger that's been sitting out in the parking lot. That was sold. It was picked up Friday by a very happy 18-year-old who was going off to college. The final bid was $11,900. That amount will be put back into the capital fund. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. Rebecca?
I don't have anything this evening. I just want to maybe thank Mark for taking time out of his schedule to show me and help me to understand the actual workings of the finance. This is the first time now that I'm really starting to have the light bulb go off, so I appreciate his time with that. But
Well, usually
that's-
with Mark and me,
that's
it's
what
6 times telling me. If you got it down in one, that's
it'll-
good.
More, I'm sure, but thank you for that.
Thank you. Paul?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On a personal note, my congratulations to Captain Trost on his upcoming retirement, to the probably one of the most friendly firefighters anyone will ever meet, or any person that you'll ever meet. Always helpful over the years, and will be sorely missed. Second, I understand that the city clerk is recovering nicely. Can you confirm that?
Yes, she
so-
is. Yep, spoke to her today. She's doing quite well.
And third, we had hoped to have the development agreement for Hidden Ponds available this evening so that we could act on everything. Unfortunately, we waited actually 2 months from the time that we submitted our draft agreement before we got comments back, and by then
And that was Monday, correct?
last Monday, yeah, and so by that time, the budget took priority over getting their agreement done. So we do hope to have it done for the next meeting. And I will note that the development agreement that you will see for this project is far superior to that which was present when the original project came forth, and the ordinance has also changed, and thus provides the opportunity for protections of the city with respect to, and the development with respect to, making sure that it meets the quality of the project that the city is looking for when it grants plan unit development approval. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. We have American Tower on the Cell Tower site on Redner Park. They have signed the agreement, so we will be expecting a check here shortly on all the back lease payments that we expect from them. So that was kind of a very long, arduous process of trying to get settlement on that new agreement. We also have been negotiating with Derek Deislin on all 3 of his properties. He has pulled a demolition permit in 2040, and he is demolishing a portion of the mini warehouse or storage units because they were under a raise or repair order. We had an inspection done by our own engineering firm. We hired an engineering firm out of the Twin Cities. He came down and he did an analysis of the whole structure and determined that the one portion of the property that's on the east, the northeast side of the property, was so deteriorated that it would have to be completely reconstructed or torn down. And so he elected to tear it down, so he's pulled a demolition permit and he's tearing that portion of the mini warehouse property down.
That's the one in the back, right?
Yeah, on the back,
Behind- Yeah.
on the back. And then also 3770, he's still working on some punch list items on completing or bringing that building into compliance. And 2525, He's got the concrete in, but has not got the asphalt in for the parking lot. We expect that to be completed before this season,
Yeah, the.
asphalt season.
So October 18th or 15th to the 18th was what he sent us. I
But
believe.
wait a second, we'll hold our breath on that. We'll hope that it's done by.
Please
winter.
don't.
But we have also been working on negotiating a settlement agreement, so we will be bringing that to the Common Council for consideration. As you're aware, there were a number of fines and citations that created liens against two of those properties, 2525 East Crawford and 3770. So we're trying to come to a solution or conclusion to that and wipe the slate clean and move forward with regard to those three properties. So that should be coming before the council shortly.
Thank you, Mark. Debbie?
I just want to say that Captain Trost will be very much missed. We go way back too, so, but I am happy for him that he's able to retire. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. Sarah?
Nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, Captain Trost, congrats to him. As a manager as well, in my position, retirement is the best way to lose an employee versus them leaving. So good for you. It speaks well for you and your team, and another new beginning along the way. Wanted to thank you to your team, Chief, to yours as well. I'm hearing good things about you as we're going through our FBI Citizens Academy. You're pretty well liked over there. As far as your development, I'm just going to reiterate, you have an opportunity to mend some relationships here and do it right. I hope you can work that out. The last thing I'll mention is a committee that Alderman Fliss is on and the mayor is on. The celebration committee is having an event next week, Wednesday, at Bretnar Park, Food Truck Frenzy. There'll be several food trucks there. The proceeds go towards supporting our city events, the Christmas parade and the 4th of July. Hope we can see some of you there, many of you there, and have a good evening. If we do get a little rain or mist, we have the pavilion. They offered to open the pole building, so we'll have some dry seating for people. And hopefully we have a good night. On that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Sean. Don?
A couple of things, and I truly wish that we can get off on a better foot with Hidden Ponds and make it a development that not only the developer but the city can be proud of and have it be a shining star instead of a diamond in the rough at this particular point. Also, Trost retirement, kudos to him. Somebody would have told me that this is the way retirement was going to be for me. I'd have done it 20 years ago, although I'd have been living in a cardboard box. But he'll enjoy it. It's nice to see him move on with a different portion of his life. And that's pretty much all I have.
Thank you, Don. Matt?
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you. Steve?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Thank you. Pete Trost, I know it's been said a couple of times here, but it needs to be said again. He's going to be sorely missed, but for me being retired 2 years now, he's going to love it. Trust me. And with that, I pass. I got nothing else.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. We